Please work, 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 work. Hello. It's working. All right. I'm so happy. I'm in LA. So what time is it? It's 2:40 here. West Coast time, 5:40 for my East Coast people. Evening time for my European folks. Asia, I don't even know. It's nighttime. But I'm so happy. How much can I play? Hey, what's up, Troy? I want to see, like, this is what I've been up to. I'm good. I'm like, how much music can I play before they copyright me? Copyright strike me. Yeah. That's what I've been doing. But like this, right? All right, I'll turn this off. Morena, what's up? What's up? Yeah, so I've been working. Working. Me and Rihanna, they've been working. All right, let me turn this off because I don't want to get a strike. Hey, everybody. Did you miss me? I missed you guys. So I swear I was going to like try to edit some videos and upload them. But you know my life. I don't know why. Number one, I'm like on vacation, kind of. It's a working vacation. So I'm down here in LA. I'm working like from here, all these Zoom calls, you know, exactly, work. I have 3 Zoom calls today. I've had like back to back, like everybody, right? It's cool because it's flexible, but it's also really busy. It's really busy. So, but I get to work like this. Like I have this cute little Airbnb. You want to see? Look at my cute little garden. It's so cute. There's a little bench back there. There's the inside. It's all colorful in there. The garden wraps around. It's adorable. Super private, tucked away, central, in a good spot. David! How is it in Las Terrenas? You guys are safe from the storm, right? People keep writing me like, are you okay? Are you safe? I'm like, I'm in LA. I'm completely safe. Although there's forest fires out here in California, for those of you who don't know. Troy, yes, I did see Auntie Kia. She's coming over later on. We're going to do some stuff later on today. So it's been good. And Andrew is with his grandma, just so you know. They're in Newport Beach, and everybody's having a good time. When are you coming out here to see us, Troy? That's what I want to know. When are you coming to the DR? That's where you need to come. Tell your mama and your daddy to send you to the Dominican Republic to visit your Auntie Kelly. All right. So you guys, this is my, I'm on like a 3-week hiatus from the island. And this is the beginning of, is this the beginning of week 3? Yeah, I've been gone for just over 2 weeks. And I did the first 2 weeks up in Northern Cal, taking care of some stuff up there because I have a job based out of Northern Cal. But like many people, I can do it remotely, which is wonderful. And I also have some client stuff down here in LA. So I always, whenever I come home, I always like to stop in LA just because I have a good time in LA. Some people don't like LA. I love it. I have a ball here always. And obviously this time is different because of COVID, you know, not really hanging out like that, but still getting to like pop through a few places and see some people, you know, with the masks and the whole bit, which is actually why I chose this particular Airbnb, because there is this outdoor space. So like, if I have someone who needs to come by and talk some business, we can sit out here and, you know, there's a flexibility for that. Yeah, but so whenever that's kind of like how I've been living my life in the DR. Oh, let me tell you this real quick too. For those of you who don't know and who haven't been following me for long, I'm going to do a live stream tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. So what is that? 1:30 East Coast time. With there's another YouTuber called Mills Around, and she's just wanting to like, I'll be talking about my story and kind of how I got to the DR and different aspects of my life there, and I guess, you know, how I manage things between 2 countries and all that type of stuff. So if you are relatively new, or if you want to hear that, do check her out. It's going to be on her channel. Mills Around is what it's called, tomorrow morning at 10:30 Pacific time. So there's that. In the meantime, I wanted to just hop on to see my people directly and just share with you like what's been up. So I left the Dominican Republic. We left on, well, like I said, it's a little over 2 weeks ago. I forget the dates, but we've been traveling. And I know that there have been some storm considerations. Like before we left, we had a big tropical storm. And people are always worried about, oh my gosh, are you safe? And is there power? I know some people who lost power for like, some people lost power for like 24 hours. We were fine. I don't think there's any I'm seeing like images of, in videos of like major flooding in Santo Domingo. I understand the North Coast, like Puerto Plata, Cabarete, places like that are doing okay. My town, Las Terrenas, seems to be fine. I'm not hearing any issues from anyone there. David, what's up? What's happening in Las Terrenas? Give us an update if you're still there, David. So, yeah, so things seem to be fine. You know, I mean, although it's kind of crazy all over the world with like all these crazy weather patterns. Like I come from tropical storms in the DR to forest fires in California. And at least part of what happened like in Northern Cal is that we had this huge like thunder and lightning storm one night. And I guess there was like so much lightning. And apparently the lightning struck down in some very dry areas and started fires. So the air has been pretty bad. But with LA, I'm used to bad air. And I'm just, you know, doing my part to stay safe. So that's good. But I want to talk to you guys about, you know me, I love like this creation stuff, like how to create a life that you love, because I have to tell you, I am loving my life. I am loving the fact that I get to travel like this and do business in all these different places and, you know, maintain a lot of the flexibility and freedom that I crave and that makes me better at what I do. It makes me a better professional, makes me a better mom, makes me a better person, because I'm happy, because I love the fact that I can sit out here with a little butterfly on the patio. And like I just got off a Zoom call for work. I had 2 actually this morning for work. I've got 1 more. And I can sit here and be completely functional. You know what I mean? And I can do business, whether it's back in the DR, just whatever it is. So I don't know how many of you guys have this level of flexibility, or if you enjoy it. I guess some people maybe prefer to have their lives be more structured. But whatever it is that you like, now's a great time to really be, kind of curating the way you want to live. So for example, I had a conversation with a student this morning. One of the jobs I've accepted is that, my primary job really now, a primary position for sure, is with Berkeley Law School, University of California, Berkeley Law School. And so I was able to consult with a student this morning, just casually. And one of the things I shared with her is that, you know, aside from like learning all of the legal, the nuts and bolts and the laws and, you know, the hard stuff, right? When I say hard, I mean like hard skills, you know, like the knowledge part. There's also a really huge component for creating your life and your career the way that you want it to be. And for her as a student now, she can begin to, you know, say, because she was talking about, oh, she's interested in some technology and different things like that. And so how she wants to kind of carve things out. And I was like, well, listen, you know, so my trajectory, for example, was not like from law school to a big firm, because I did not want to do that. I had so many friends who did that track and like every single one of them hated it. They're like, we don't have any time off. They made a ton of money, but they were hating life for like 3 to 5 years. And I didn't want to do that. So I did something different. You know, and so I just carved out a different path. And so you know, we now all have this opportunity, I think, right? We always have the opportunity to choose how we want to live, to choose, you know, do you want to wake up in the morning with an alarm? Do you want to be very centered and focused with your, you know, like being on all day in terms of however you do your work? Do you want to be able to be flexible and move around? There's just a lot of opportunity to at least begin to think about how you want to live your lives. So let me see. When am I going back to the DR? I'm going back at the end of the month. So I have about another week. And I will tell you, I love this dual kind of international life thing. I love it. And it's part of what I wanted to create. Again, back to creation. I've been thinking for years about how do I get to live in different places, like have multiple residences and have a business that is portable. Like I've always known, I don't know about always, but for many, many years, I've known that I wanted to have that freedom and flexibility. To me, it is critical. And, you know, there have been times I couldn't do it that way. I had to just show up at the office and do like traditional kinds of work. I've done that. And pretty much, you know, after not long, I got really bored. And so I think what's great about now, you know, one of the silver linings is that people, not just us on like the employee side, but employers, companies, whomever, are getting to see the value of this flexible model, right? I mean, obviously everybody can't be at home on Zoom. Like if you're a nurse or you need to provide some type of in-person service, then you got to do what you got to do. But if your work doesn't require you to be in an office or at a particular location all day long, and you want to be flexible, now you can. Now you can. The same thing for me, like in terms of being back in academia, I have summers off, right, from school anyway. And so I can go and say, hey, let's go, you know, rent a villa in Italy this year, or let's go to Japan, or let's go wherever. And have that. So I am loving that model. It works very well for me. And so if you don't know, I've talked a lot about this in previous videos. If you don't know what you really want, now's a great time to begin asking yourself, like, well, what do I want out of life? How do I want to be living? And begin to incorporate like steps. It can just be baby steps, right? Because it took me all this time to get to the point where I can flow in this way, but it happened because I was like, okay, well, I can do this and I can do that. It's like peeling back the layers. And I will say this to you, quite honestly, like I told you, I had plenty of friends who went straight from law school to big firms, were making all the money and all the bells and whistles. And I made like a third probably of what those people were making, right? Because I went to the government after law school. I did my sort of legal training there in one of the general counsel's offices at a big federal agency. Hey from London, what's happening? I'm in LA. And so I did not make all the big dollars that some of my friends made. I took a different route and, just had different experiences. And there were times when I was like, oh my gosh, why did I do this way? Or maybe I should have done that. And so as you carve out, you all may be completely set with what it is what you want to do in life and how you're doing it and be perfectly happy with that. But if you are considering, especially in this like geopolitical atmosphere, like where are we going to live? Can I travel? All that type of stuff. How can I work in a way that is flexible? If you're still considering those things or beginning to reconsider them, I would say that be aware that it's not always like it's not a straight line, like from idea, from inception to execution. It's often very jagged. And, sometimes you loop back and you're like, am I making any progress here? Like, what is going on? And I've had plenty of those times. I have had plenty of times where I was like, just wondering, am I a failure? Am I like, is it ever going to make sense? Seriously, I have wondered, like, is it ever going to like click in? Am I ever going to be able to do things in the way that I had envisioned, at different points in my life? And, some of it is definitely has clicked, but there's still much more to achieve. And when I say that, I don't mean like achieving and like, I just mean like satisfying the things that I desire. So that's what I wanted to share kind of, I guess, primarily is that I'm really, really happy about, this and the way I'm getting to do things now. But it's a process, you guys. Like I have some people who've written me and said, how did you do this? And how did you move to the DR? And how, as though it was like, boop, overnight. And I spoke to someone just here in LA. Who was it? Maybe yesterday or something? I forget. Someone asked me, well, how did you like end up in the Dominican Republic? And like, what was your process? And I was like, it wasn't ever a plan to move there. I frankly was not familiar with the Dominican Republic hardly at all. I'd heard of it, but I didn't know anything about the country. The only thing I really had heard of was Punta Cana, because I had friends who, of course, had gone on vacation there and everyone was raving about the beaches. But that's kind of all I knew. And so I searched out some opportunities. Yeah, actually, I wasn't even looking for the DR. I was looking to go to Cuba. This is what happened, because this is when Obama was in office. And so the doors to Cuba had opened. And I was like, well, that'd be really cool. And the culture and the music and all that stuff. And I was doing some research online just to see like, well, how, like, I didn't even know what. I had no idea like really what I was looking for. I just was sort of, I don't know, looking. And I found this, this was like a, what do you call it? Like a professional development seminar for educators. Well, I've done some teaching, but that wasn't really my thing. But anyway, so I followed the breadcrumbs that led me to this organization. And long story short, I ended up finding an opportunity to teach as a professor in the DR for a summer. And that's how we got there. Cuba is nice. And honestly, like the education in Cuba is amazing, right? And you can get up to like PhD level for free, at least if you're Cuban. I'm not sure about foreigners, how that works. But I thought about that. I was like, well, my son could get an amazing education here and we'd be among the people and the language and the music and the art. It's all so wonderful. But Cuba, if you've not been to Cuba, I've been to Cuba 3 or 4 times, I forget. But anyway, it's hardcore. It is hardcore. What I mean by that is that like the last time I went was 2 summers ago, and I was invited to speak there to a group of Cuban artists, so like musicians, DJs, and rappers, all kinds of people, to give them. We were presenting a seminar on the entertainment industry, and so I handled the legal part, like looking, what do you look for in a contract, and stuff like that. And that was when I was like, I could not live in Cuba right now because it's just too rough. Like the infrastructure is crap. There's virtually no internet. I mean, you have to buy one of those like scratch off cards. Remember like old school phone cards you scratch off? You have to go stand in like the public square and quick. And you have like either maybe 30 minutes or an hour. Just too much. AC, maybe, but the first time I went to Cuba was in 2016, that summer. And of course, it's blistering hot because we were there, I think, in late July or August. And I remember having to go to like 4 different stores looking for water, like a bottle of water. It was so hot. And they're like, no, we don't have any more water. I'm like, how do you not have water? It's an island. You're surrounded by water. There's got to be some water. So I ruled Cuba out. It's beautiful. And I have a lot of love for Cubans and Cuban culture, but no. And even if I got lucky and like lived in some beautiful place and had AC and had all that, there's just, once you step outside, it's not a lot. And frankly, the Dominican Republic, for that matter, pretty much any place you go. I was in Turkey last summer. There's great things all over the world. Even Paris, as developed as Paris is, there's some things you're going to do without, or you're going to deal with differently. Right. And so like Paris is very expensive. Everything is really, really small, European. So no matter how you're planning to set your life up, just be aware that, again, whatever your plan is, it's not going to be like right from point 1 to point 10, like zip, I'm done. It's going to be like maybe 1, 2, and then up, you've seen that like, it's not a meme. Maybe it's a meme. It's, like an illustration where it says like, my plan is like A to Z, beep, arrived at my goal. Life's plan is like, did all these zips and turns and around, and then finally you get there. That's definitely what it's like. So whether you're talking about business or developing something in your life, personal, professional, whatever, just be patient with yourself and remember that when it seems like you're losing ground, you're backtracking, it's just part of the process. It's just part of what it is. So, but then, there are those moments when you're on like the top, and you're like, oh my gosh, I get to look around and see what I've created. And so I'm super happy right now and feeling great to be here. It's always really fun to come back to LA. I'll tell you in terms of the COVID situation here in California. Oh, let me tell you this. So coming back into the United States was a trip because, in Las Terrenas, of course, everyone's concerned about COVID and people do wear masks and we follow all the protocols there. But it's just still, at least when I left, as of a few weeks ago, it's still much more relaxed because it's, again, it's a beach town. There's lots of nature and you're outside and food is fresh and we're not inundated with crazy news and, crazy administration like here in the US. And whatever your position is on the administration, it's clear that there's been zero consistency with developing any type of policy, national mandate for how to handle this pandemic situation. And it shows. And people are dealing with the brunt of that, unfortunately. Okay. So anyway, I prepared myself, like, okay, mentally, we're about to change realities here, right? And I prepared my son, and I was like, listen, it's going to be different in the US. People are much more uptight there because they're not living in the way they were used to living, which is really flowing and relaxed and all that stuff. And he's like, well, can I see my friends? And I was like, well, I don't really know is the answer. Like, I'm not sure how that's going to work. But I'll tell you that so I traveled through 3 airports. I left Santo Domingo, then to Miami, and then arrived in San Francisco. Virtually all of the airports, I should say, were virtually empty. I mean, there are very few people traveling. I have global entry, I have TSA pre-check, all that stuff. And so let me see, income. Hang on, Carrington, hang on one second. And so traveling was a breeze, right? Even if there were any lines, because I have things like global entry, we just sped right through. There was no problem. The planes were not full. I'd say they were like maybe halfway full and everybody had on masks, no issues. I traveled on American Airlines. They do make announcements that, if you are not willing to cover your nose and your mouth with the mask, you will not be flying on this flight. It's just very clear. And you could have heard a pin drop, like people were not having any problem with that. So I had no fear, no concerns about that. At one point, we did like wipe our little area down with some wipes and stuff, but I wasn't like super freaked out. I would recommend that if you are going to be traveling anytime soon, even if it's domestic, carry some snacks with you. I did that. But also, because we had such a long journey, we did get something to eat in the Miami airport. But for example, most of the vendors in the airports are closed down now. We had like 2, maybe 3 options, like hot dog and pasta. to eat. And of course, it's airport food, so it's not necessarily good food, and it's also very expensive. But one thing my son noticed, so he opted for the hot dog thing, right? Hot dog and some lemonade. And he really didn't eat it. He's not a huge hot dog fan anyway, because he's looked to see on YouTube how they're made, and it's pretty disgusting. But he's like, it tastes really artificial, and the lemonade tasted really like it just wasn't real. It was like artificially flavored. And coming from where we've been living with all this amazing, delicious food, it is artificial. And I was like, well, welcome back to the US. And then just eating here, I had sticker shock with how much things cost to eat. It's insane how much is being charged to us as Americans, which is really not the true cost of things, right? And it's a setup. I feel like it's a setup to benefit corporations, the people who are providing whatever services, whether it's cell phone service or your food or whatever. It does not cost that much. And so that's part of my sort of, I don't know, what is the word? Like just not feeling completely at ease about being back in the United States, aside from all COVID stuff, like just how the United States treats its people. It takes advantage of us, frankly. So there's that. But in terms of like the ease of travel, honestly, I was like, this might be one of the best times to travel because it's just so easy. There's like nobody, well, just say nobody, but there are not that many people traveling. It's very easy. I was not concerned about any type of health, anything like that. I don't tend to live in a fearful state anyway, so that could be it. All right, now to your question, Carrington, how much income? Your wife and 2 kids, obviously it depends upon the lifestyle you're looking for. The number I tend to tell people is like a solid ballpark is $2,000 a month. Now, you've got 4 people you're talking about, so maybe you want to add a little to that. But if I live on $2,000 a month in Las Vegas with myself and my child, we are very comfortable. Hi, Hugh. Hello. I'm in Los Angeles. So it depends. I know people who, for example, I know one family that rented I think it's a 3-bedroom house with a separate bungalow for the 4th bedroom. It had a pool, totally private, all that, a villa. They paid on the high side. They paid like $1,200 a month, which in my town is considered a little bit high, especially because they had a long-term lease. Now, I don't know if they just didn't try to negotiate it or what. I'd say maybe 800 could be average for a family of 4, maybe a little more, again, depending upon if where you want to live. Everyone wants to live close to the beach, and so that's going to be a little bit more, all those types of things. Food is generally inexpensive, especially if you eat, as they say, like a Dominican, meaning a lot of the fresh stuff. You're not shopping necessarily in the big supermarkets. You go to some of the local vendors, but most expats just go straight to the grocery store because it's convenient. It's what we're used to. But things like utilities, cell phone, that stuff is pretty low. So again, rule of thumb, $2,000. You can adjust that according to whatever your particulars are. Any other questions? No? I want to run inside real quick and get myself something cool to drink because my water right here is not cool and it's a little warm. So hold, please. Be right back. You waited. Thank you. I actually just got some cold water. Harold Durant. Hey, Harold. Let's see if I miss anything. Troy. All right, cool. So that's what's up. I'm here for a few more days. I'm loving this. This is a cool little tucked away spot. I don't know if any of you guys know Los Angeles at all, but I'm pretty centrally located. I'm near a place called The Grove, which is an outdoor like shopping area, restaurants and things like that. And it's nice. They're able to still be open because they're outdoors. And there's a mosquito. So, people are walking around there. Most people here that I've seen, most people have on masks. Some don't. I know LA was having issues with people throwing parties, and apparently like hundreds of people going to houses, for house parties. And the mayor, Eric Garcetti, was like, I'm going to shut off your electricity and your water to keep people from doing that, because I guess that's had their numbers up. But, I'm not having any issues with any of that stuff. Do what I'm supposed to do, stay out of trouble, no problems. You moved here last month, Curtis. Where did you move to? Where did you move? Where is here? I've referred to several different places. And I live, so ideally, like I said, I'm going to have multiple residences, because why not? Like, why not? And I don't think that we're going to go back to, the old paradigm. Let this mosquito bite me. I don't think we're going back to the, you moved to Puerto Plata, nice. Okay, yeah, I don't think we're going to go back to not entirely to the old paradigm of, go to work, sit there. I think we're going to have some hybrid opportunities coming out, which to me is like music to my ears. It's perfect. And I may need to be back in the US on a more regular basis. I don't know if it'll be next year, next academic year. I don't know. But I do think it's going to be called upon me to be more present. But that's okay, because then it's difficult to get a driver's license in the DR. It's not difficult. What I would recommend to you is, if you're planning to go to the DR and spend an extended amount of time there, that you purchase my DR Go resource guide. And I say that completely seriously, because it is full of things like information about how to get a driver's license. If you're an expat, if you're going to be there for, like, let's say 6 months of the year, you're going to do like a dual residency thing. How does all that work? I mean, it's all covered there. If you're interested in that, go to freeislandgirl.com. Here, I'll type it here for you guys, for those who don't know. And then you'll see on there something. There you go. There's information in there on the website about the DR Go resource guide. And I say that, again, entirely seriously, because it has come highly recommended, not just by me, but by some people who've purchased it. They've said, oh my gosh, it's super helpful. And is loving no dark man? What? Is it difficult? Oh, no, it's not. Yeah, so it's not difficult. But the steps are included in there. Simple as that. And honestly, I would give you more information right now. I just don't remember. I don't remember the details of it, because I know I don't remember. I don't want to say it, because I don't want to give you misinformation right now. But in addition to the particulars in the guide, there's some links to resources there, like people you can contact who can walk you through that, or like, the agency that you go to. I have all these links and whatever. Like, I spent a lot of time putting that together so that you guys don't have to worry, and you don't have to be searching around different places and all that stuff. So there's that. Let me see. What else? What else, people? Basically, I'm feeling really well. And I'm happy to see that people here, you've been to Santiago twice for shopping. From where? Oh, so from Puerto Plata. That's only like an hour and a half, right? You said you're in Puerto Plata? Yeah, I used to live in Santiago. When I first moved to the DR, like the first time I lived there in the summer of 2016, I was a professor at Pucamaima, Pucmm, right? So Pucamaima is a nickname. And so, and it's inland. For those of you who know the DR, Santiago is like sort of on the northern side, but it's about an hour and a half from the north coast. So from all that Puerto Plata, Cabarete, Sosúa, all that stuff, we'd have to drive up. And, I mean, it's not that bad. Obviously, it's not like living in a beach community, but it was nice to get out of town, because when I was there, it was really hot and it was really, really dirty in 2016. Like, I think there'd been something with the, not at 5 a.m. in the dark. I agree. Well, then, see, I used to take the guagua. But anyway, the summer I was there was something about, I think there was a mayoral election, and the incumbent mayor lost. And so I guess he got mad and was like, I'm not going to collect the garbage anymore. And so there were just piles of garbage all over the streets, like literally just heaped on street corners here and there. And it was also the summer of the Zika virus, right? There was always something going on. So between heaps of garbage, steaming in the hot, humid sun, and a mosquito-borne illness, you can imagine that it was a disaster. And I was like, so my first impression of the DR was not good. I was like, this country's dirty and it's completely disorganized and it's a shit show, right? And it wasn't until I visited some other parts. Frankly, it wasn't until I went to Las Terrenas that I was like, okay, I'd be willing to live here, because Las Terrenas was so beautiful. and I saw people. I was like, I see families, and like there's life happening here, and if they can live here, I can live here too. So that's how it happened. But it wasn't until then, and that was actually the last stop on my trip that summer. Okay, let me see. Highly considering purchasing a vehicle and wanted to know if it was difficult, but yeah. ProCab. Hey, I know ProCab. I was up there before. ProCab is a neighborhood in Cabarete. Cute little houses and stuff. So, what was I telling you? Oh, so Santiago. Yeah, so Santiago was my first like long term. I lived there for, I think it was 2 months during the summer of 2016. And I did not love the city. One, because it's landlocked. Two, as I said, because it was just really dirty that summer and just didn't give me a great impression of the country overall. But I went to, so like I said, we did the North Coast, we went to Cabarete and that area up there a couple times, spent like maybe one night each time, I think, just a quick trip. In Puerto Plata, we did Jarabacoa, which is up in the mountains, did the beautiful waterfalls and things up there, did some of that. We actually flew into Punta Cana by accident, and it's because we had a layover coming from California. We had a quick layover in Las Vegas to change planes to fly us into the DR. Well, we were on JetBlue at the time, and JetBlue's flight out of SF was late, and so we missed our Las Vegas connection. So the airline was like, well, we can either put you up in Las Vegas for the night, or we can send you into Punta Cana, which is not where I was supposed to be going. I was supposed to be flying into the capital. Fly you into Punta Cana, and we'll put you up in a hotel there. And I was like, we are going to Punta Cana and spend some nights on the beach. So I just added a couple hotel nights onto where they put us, which was great. And because they flew me into the wrong location, like 2 hours away from Santo Domingo, I was like, well, you have to take me now to my final destination. So we got like private taxi from Punta Cana after like, I think 3 or 4 nights we spent there chilling on the beach to Santiago, where I started work. So it's a pretty nice entrance. So we got to see some different parts of the country was the point of that story. Yeah, it's been good. It's been good, you guys. I don't know what the future holds for me exactly. I mean, who really does, right? But in terms of the Dominican Republic, I can now say that when I decided to move there, my plan was 3 to 5 years. 3 to 5 years would be a good amount of time to really dig into the culture, get a sense for what it's like, visit different parts of the country. We went to Haiti that first summer in 2016, which was beautiful. Just get a feel for it, give my son an experience, and then bounce and see what happens. So we're over the 2.5 year mark. So pretty soon it'll be 3 years, right, in February. And I don't know. I have been thinking about what's next, what's coming next. And interestingly, lo and behold, these other opportunities are opening up and unfolding. So, and this whole, as I've said, like this new experience with everything on Zoom and remote work. I mean, I've been doing remote work for 2.5 years anyway. Well, at least, because even when I was in California, I was doing remote stuff from Northern to Southern Cal. But it's much more of a remote experience now. And for me, it's not really much of a transition. It feels very comfortable. I'm very comfortable with the video, aspect of things, obviously. And so I just feel like things are going really well. How much does health insurance cost? I can tell you what I'm paying, but I cannot tell you like between different health insurance companies. Again, I do give you links to different companies in the DR Go guide. So for example, I have Universal Health Insurance, that's the name of the company, and I pay for 2 people for an entire year for both of us. So 2 people combined, it's about $1,000 for the year, and that's full coverage. So for example, because we live in a little beach town about 2 or so hours from the capital, that includes air ambulance. Like if something kind of catastrophic happens, God forbid, they will air ambulance me or my son and to the capital to first class hospital, whatever. So obviously it's very affordable. But again, you would want to check with different companies, insurance companies, to check the rate for how many people are involved, ages, pre-existing conditions. That's just me. I'm healthy. My son's healthy. I'm not over whatever the age limit is that they say. No, and I think there is something about, because I know a family who came with a grandfather. And I want to say he's like in the 70s or something. And he was not able to get insurance in the Dominican Republic. So do check that if you are a senior citizen, or if you're traveling with someone who's a senior citizen and they may need to be insured, you might want to find out from your home country about insurance that would cover anything you might need in the DR. Okay, let me see what other questions you're asking me. Is that my son learning Spanish? Yeah. So I had him in a Spanish immersion school for the first 5 years of his educational experience. So from pre-K to second grade, he was in a full immersion Spanish language school in California. So he came to the DR speaking Spanish. That was part of even though I didn't know where we were going to live, I always knew that I wanted to live internationally. And I speak French and Spanish. And so I figured, well, and of course, being in California, Spanish is everywhere. And that was part of my plan for him. So yes, he speaks Spanish, although he's not really into it. Like he'd much rather play with English speaking kids because it's just easier for him. And like, I love language. That's not really his thing. He's more of like a math science kid. So he'll even tell you, I'm like, how's your Spanish level? And he's like, mediocre. He's just not really into it. So he understands, he can speak, but he's not really trying to speak Spanish. So, but of course, yeah, he's picking stuff up. He's picking stuff up in the DR too. When I return to the DR, I will have to self-quarantine. Oh, will I have to self-quarantine? So I'm really unclear about that. My understanding is that if you come into the DR with, I think it's called a PCR test that says you are negative, you can just slide right through and nobody's going to bother you. I've also heard that even if you don't have one, it's like you check a box on a form, and I guess they leave it up to you. It doesn't sound like there's a lot of consistency because I've heard like if you fly into Puerto Plata versus Punta Cana versus Santo Domingo, there are different things. I've heard, for example, if you fly into Santo Domingo, they'll like swab you in the airport, and it's like a 45-minute process to confirm that you are negative. Or if you are positive, then yes, you have to self-quarantine, or the government will put you, place you someplace where you quarantine for, I believe it's 14 days. So I'm planning, I guess, to get a test so that we can walk in and be like, here, even if I fly in and they don't want to see it, I'd rather have it and not need it than be messing around in the airport. And you know what I mean? Just anything bureaucratic. And I just would rather avoid all of that. So that's what I recommend if you're planning to fly to the DR anytime soon. And when I say soon, like until this whole crazy situation begins to settle down, I would say just go with your paperwork, show it to them, and the likelihood is you'll be able to pass through. That's my understanding. Things are not necessarily totally consistent there either, but that's what I'm getting. Oh, thank you. I'd like to be informative. Let's see. Oh, thank you. Thank you, you guys. I'm reading your comments. Thank you. I love all the compliments. I appreciate that so much. And I do try to be informative. Oh, here's what I wanted to tell you too. So you may have noticed lately I've not been very consistent about these videos. One is because, like I said, my editing software I don't know why. I don't know what's going on. But so here's the deal, like way back, maybe about a year ago when I was trying to like really kind of ramp up this channel and I wanted to get more viewers. I think I was trying to get to like 1,000 viewers or 1,000 subscribers and all this stuff. I decided to be like, okay, I'm gonna do 2 videos a week and be really consistent, blah, 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 blah. I had someone who was helping me at that time doing editing and like just helping me learn a lot about how all this stuff works. Cause I'm still in some ways a novice, but back then very much a novice. But I always kind of had the thought, because as I've shared with you, I have like actual work that I do. I have real jobs where, I have clients and I get paid and it's like I have to show up for work just like you guys do, I assume. And so YouTube is not like a primary source of income for me. It's not any source of income for me. Frankly, I don't rely on YouTube for income at all. It's just something that I do. But my bread and butter comes from the actual work that I do. And so it never... Hi, Mary. So it wasn't for me like a thing that I had to be like all the time consistent with. I did that in order to, well, one, to be able to do live streams again, because there's a threshold there for that. And yes, you can monetize at a certain point, but you're not going to live. I mean, I guess if you have millions of followers, you can, but I'm not living off of YouTube monetization, to be sure. And so part of me was like, I'd rather just be a YouTuber who's like so dope and so interesting and maybe has such cool content. Hopefully I'll get there at some point, where I just drop stuff every now and then and people check in, and honestly, I felt lately like, especially with the traveling I'm doing now, that I like that model. And I know that is not the model. You can look on YouTube anytime and see like, here's how to build your audience and here's how to get subscribers. And, I mean, if that's what you're after, and if you want a YouTuber who's like every Tuesday at 3:00 or every you can get that. As you see with my channel, I'm a little bit different. This is just like, you're kind of just being invited into my life from time to time to see, hey, what's happening, what's going on with me, how am I living? Like, and when I say how am I living, I mean like how am I managing my life in this way, being able to be in LA for a few days and then in California for a few weeks and I mean, I'm not planning on doing any more traveling immediately, but let's say I go to Europe or Asia or South America, whatever, like, hey, let's check that out, right? As opposed to I'm sitting here and I'm giving you every single day or every single week, whatever it is, particular content. Sometimes it's going to be about the Dominican Republic and my experiences there. Sometimes it's just what's happening at the moment. So now you know, there you have it. That's part of why I'm not just on all the time, because frankly, you know, I really like my life a lot. I'm very happy. I have a very fulfilling life, and so I live it. And I'm happy to share aspects of it with, you know, the public, if that helps in some way, or if it's just interesting to you guys, or if you're thinking about doing YouTube yourself, or, you know, whatever it is. But then I turn the camera off and I just am normal, like everybody else. So speaking of which, I actually have to get back on a Zoom call soon because I've got another class. I'm teaching a class. I'm coming back at the end of the month, Mary. I'll be back in about a week. So it's so funny because I thought, oh, I'm going to leave. I'm getting a break from the humidity, because like in the DR, in my town when I left, it was like high 80s, right? But then you add humidity and it was sweltering. Like, you know, it's one of those, you take a shower and you walk outside and you're immediately, not even if you go outside, but you're just immediately sweaty again, which I hate. So I'm like taking, you know, 2, 3, 4 showers a day sometimes. Yeah, we'll have to break bread and connect when I get back, Mary, and see your whole family and get ready for school to start, all that. But so I was looking forward to like a break from the heat. Then I come home. First, it was freezing in California for the first few days, like not summery at all. And then we had a crazy heat wave. So, you know, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not getting a break from the heat. I mean, I want it to be warm, but not sweltering. And then LA, actually, it's really beautiful right now in Los Angeles. You can see this little breeze blowing. It's not humid. So that's been nice. But, you know, as they say, the best laid plans oft go astray. That's just what it's been. But I'm having a fantastic time. I'm really glad that I did decide to travel this summer, even with everybody freaked out about travel. People were like, why are you going back to California? Why are you coming to the US? It's crazy. And I was like, well, because I want to see my family. I want to connect with friends. I do have new work coming out of Cali. And I was like, let me be in place just in case I need to do like a, you know, like a socially distanced meeting with someone, what have you. It's just good to be in the place sometimes. And I don't want to feel like I'm stuck. I didn't leave the DR till late though, because initially I was concerned about not being able to get back in. I wasn't worried about coming home and that type of stuff. I wanted to. So I'm an attorney. Someone's asking me what kind of work. I'm a lawyer. And so I represent some, like a TV production company here in Los Angeles and some other stuff going on. Some new projects coming up I'm excited about. And I'm on faculty at a law school in Northern California. So excited about that too. Yeah, and I wanted to come back. And, you know, I in terms of the whole COVID thing, I don't doubt that there's stuff happening. Obviously, we've all seen evidence of different people, you know, meeting their demise or becoming really sick, what have you. But I don't tend to live in fear. I tend to take care of myself and be mindful about my surroundings and, you know, like, not be stupid, basically. Like, I'm not going to walk through a dark alley with my money in my hand, counting my, you know, anything. Yes, I'm an entertainment lawyer. Super fun. It's a perfect blend of like the creative artist side and the business, because the artistry and the cool stuff that comes along with it is the fun part, right? But it can get a little flaky, and, you know, artists need focus sometimes. And so that's where I bring my bag of tricks, and I set up like the business part and the legal and make sure that things are good. So once again, for me, it's funny because when I went to law school, I was like, I don't want to be a lawyer. That sounds like boring and uninteresting. But what led me to law school is that I worked at a record company many years ago and ended up in the legal department. They put me in the legal department, and I was looking at artist contracts, you know, publishing deals and tour support and mechanical licenses and all this type of stuff for, you know, like that's what I did. And I began to learn that, oh, well, wait a second. You know, I'm talking to lawyers all day on the phone and negotiating, working with them to negotiate splits between, you know, who gets what percentage of this and that. And I was like, well, this is fun. And at the time, there were a lot of lawyers coming out of, like Black lawyers coming out of, you know, top law schools producing films, right? So this is back in I'm going to date myself now, but this is like back in the New Jack City and Boys in the Hood and what else? House Party, all that type of stuff was happening. And, oh, Mary, I got you with the Spanish. No te preocupes. Te ayudo. It's all good. So I saw that, okay, I could either have the trajectory of like working as someone's assistant for like 20 years, working my way up, or I commit 3 years to law school plus, some experience, what have you, and come back and get in the game. I didn't necessarily come back directly and get right back into that stuff, into the entertainment stuff, but I then had a bag of tricks. I had skills. So basically, I went to law school for the skill set and for the knowledge, to be able to use them however I wanted, to build the kind of life I wanted to build. Like, that's the thing. Here's the deal. For a long time, I think people thought, or I even felt like I must be flaky, because like when people say, well, what do you want to be when you grow up, kind of thing. And I was like, I never had like a solid answer. It wasn't going to be, doctor, lawyer, Indian chief. I didn't really know, like, there wasn't anything to describe that I was aware of what I wanted to be and do. So I ended up kind of crafting my own experience in my own career. And I remember different times meeting with people, like everyone is like, oh, you need a mentor. And I was like, well, who's doing like what I want to do? And I didn't know anybody who had a life that was flexible, where you could be international, where you could, maybe be a lawyer, but do some cool work, or work with artists, but have a steady paycheck. I didn't see examples of that. And so the closest I came to that was when I got to LA and began to see these people who were coming out of law school producing films. I didn't necessarily want to produce, but I just liked the way that it seemed like they were able to live. So, can a dropout like you go to law school? Yeah, you need to drop back in. But of course, anything is possible. Anything is possible. So that's a little bit of a throwback, I guess, glimpse into what my life was, how I got to where I am. And yeah. So it's been a really cool journey. As I said before, not always really clear, like definitely times when I was sort of sweating bullets and wondering, questioning myself, feeling even bad about like, why am I not seeing the success I want to see? Why am I struggling? Why am I not making the money some of my peers are making? Why, it's like my path was always a little different. But, I look at where I am now, and a lot of people are going, oh my God, that's amazing what you're doing. And it's wonderful that you can have a life like this. And so, I guess it's like delayed gratification to an extent. And like I said before, it's not like everything is exactly like I want it to be. But I see like the skeleton of it. I see like, yeah, I see how I can make it work from here. So I'm excited. I was only going to do 30 minutes, because one of the things I said too is I'm going to do shorter videos. I'm sorry. I feel like they're too long sometimes, although I try to just engage and answer questions and whatnot. But I have to get on a Zoom call. I got to go back to work. So love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Looks like somebody from Russia. Is that Russian? I do not speak or read Russian, but hi guys. Oh, so check out tomorrow morning, 10:30 Pacific time, Mills Around. I'm doing a live stream with her to talk more about DR stuff. This is another person who does videos about the Dominican Republic. So her YouTube channel is called Mills, M-I-L-L-S, Mills Around. Tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. I'll be live with her. So come on, check us out. All right, guys. Mwah, bye. Have a great day.